It's 4 p.m. and we're bringing you the developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Paez. Some stories we're watching this Friday, May 31. The Health Department confirms the country's first death related to e-cigarettes or vape. Philippine General Hospital doctors documented a 22-year-old male who had a fatal heart attack despite having no prior health issues. He had a lung injury which doctors attributed to his daily vape use. The DOH again reminds everyone that vaping is not a safe alternative to smoking. Today is National Fisherfolks Day. To highlight the significance of the annual observance, a group of fishermen went on a collective expedition in Masinloc, Zambales. This is to protest China's fishing ban in the areas of the West Philippine Sea. And in the United States, former President Donald Trump is found guilty of falsifying documents to cover up a hush money for a porn star. Trump's sentencing is set for July 11, or 4 days before the Republican Party's nomination for the November elections. The former president could face up to 4 years in prison if his conviction is upheld.
Former President Donald Trump has been convicted in his hush money trial in New York City. This is a really significant moment. It's the first time in history that a former American president has been convicted in a criminal trial of felony charges. This is a moment that's going to matter both legally and politically. Legally, these are 34 felony charges that carry 4 years in prison, although it's not known whether prosecutors are going to seek any prison time or whether the judge is going to impose any prison time. Politically, the implications remain to be seen, but there's no question that Trump is going to clearly try to rally his base and to try to get voters and his supporters to believe that this is a case of political persecution, as he has long maintained. But it's also possible that American voters are going to be turned off by the idea of electing a candidate who is now a convicted felon. This case has been unfolding for months. It concerns hush money payments that prosecutors say were made to a porn actor who alleged that she had an extramarital sexual encounter with Trump a decade before the 2016 presidential election. And prosecutors say Stormy Daniels was paid to keep quiet and to prevent those claims of a sexual relationship from surfacing during the final days of the 2016 presidential election. And the allegations here were that Trump falsified business records to prevent the true nature of those payments from being revealed.
Joining us today, Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and Storycon's resident political pundit, Ronald Llamas.
Happy weekend,
Hi, happy
Ami.
Friday.
Happy weekend at saka happy month end.
Okay.
Happy birthday kay BP Sara.
Yun, okay.
Birthday pala.
Before we continue on the birthday greetings, let's jump right in to our mobile journalist who is in Singapore for the Shangri-La Dialogue, where President Bongbong Marcos is scheduled to deliver the keynote address. Mobile journalist Julie, yes? Has the President already delivered his speech?
Patrick, Ronald, Ani, around 8 p.m. pa yung mismong keynote speech ng Pangulo. 7:25 pa magbubukas ng opisyal itong IISS Shangri-La Dialogue. Nandito tayo ngayon sa loob ng Shangri-La. Kakapasok lang natin actually ilang oras na bago yung pagbubukas. Medyo mahigpit, sobrang higpit nung security kasi sa labas pa lang, inabot na tayo halos ng 20 minutes bago nakapasok. And then, the allotted space lang for the media delegation na gustong pumunta. Nasilip natin kanina yung loob. So, medyo nagsasagawa pa sila ng konting preparation. Ang mga nakakita pa lang natin na dumating dito yung defense officials ng ibang mga bansa. Sa atin sa Pilipinas, si Senator Jinggoy Estrada lang yung nakasalubong natin kanina. No? Pero hindi natin siya nakausap kasi ang sabi niya, sasamahan pa daw niya yung Pangulo sa bilateral meeting kay former Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. Kasi meron pang dalawang bilateral meeting si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos ngayong hapon.
Julie?
Isa kay former Prime Minister and then yung isa nga ay sa Lithuanian President.
Okay, Julie, do we know, do we have an inkling of what the President is going to say in his keynote speech? Do we have any clue?
Sa ngayon, wala pa rin nagsasalita, ano, even the defense officials, sa part nila, Secretary Geopolitical and yung other military officials na nandito, kapag itinatanong natin saan sa sentro yung magiging speech ng Pangulo, ang sagot nila parating vaguely, it's defense and security. Pero ang tweet that we received from last night, meron daw mga policy related na sasabihin ng Pangulo.
Policy related
Julie,
na
alam
sasabihin.
na,
Okay.
there's a meeting with the new Singapore Prime Minister. Alam na ba natin kung anong nangyari o mangyayari pa lang?
Kanina nagpulo nga sila bandang 12 and to 12:30. No? Supposedly meron ng hosted lunch for the President and kay First Lady Liza Arenta Marcos, pero hindi daw natuloy. Ngayon hinihintay natin kung ano yung napag-usapan nila kasi yung naibigay sa atin material pa lang. Hindi rin masyado malinaw yung audio nung naging meeting kasi ang full coverage lang actually so mga crew lang yung nakasama. So we're waiting. Si Secretary Celoy nangako naman siya na magbibigay ng update as soon as possible.
Julie, kahapon, the entire day, wala tayong may report ba kayo? Walang official schedule. Alam na ba natin?
Private meetings lang talaga yung sinabi sa amin. Nagkaroon din kasi kami ng dinner with Secretary kagabi. And again, yun lang din yung sinabi niya sa amin, private meetings. Hindi rin siya nagsabi kung anong sektor or anong sino yung mga nakausap ng Pangulo doon sa meeting niya. Hindi nga natin alam actually kung ilan yung private meetings na niya kahapon.
Okay, Julie, I understand that there was an opportunity yesterday or last night to ambush or throw some questions to the President. May nangyari bang ganon na ambush interview sa Presidente kagabi?
Wala si Presidente doon sa dinner actually. PCO officers lang yung nakasama natin. Even si Housekeeper Romualdez na supposedly ay nag-confirm nung una or akala natin mga kasama natin, hindi rin kasi sa sa dinner.
Kasi tinatanong ko yung schedule kahapon, Julie, kasi may mga speculation nga. Alam mo naman dito, lagi may mga ganyan, kapag ganyang medyo parang sinisikreto kung ano nangyayari. May kumakalat na baka daw nagkaroon ng health issue si Presidente at nagpapacheck up actually dyan sa Singapore. Sharon ba kayo nababalitaan gano'n?
Sa totoo lang ang Philippine media delegation dito, no, hindi pa namin nakakita ang Pangulo. Simula nung dumating siya. Kasi yung arrival niya nung Tuesday, 5 p.m. or around 4:52, close in din siya. And then kinabukasan yesterday, private meetings nga. And hindi rin kami nakatanggap ng any photos from or update from that meeting. So ngayon pa lang namin siya makikita kapag dumating siya sa dito para sa Shangri-La Dialogue. Pero kanina naman, based on doon sa mga materials na nakita natin, okay naman, he is well. Nakapag-meeting naman siya with President Sarman and Prime Minister Wong.
Julie, marami kang kinover na ganyang klase mga visits ng Presidente. Bakit napaka-tight nung kanilang paghawak sa trip na ito? Hindi naman ito ganun ka-defining na trip, di ba? Bakit walang binibigay na schedules, no, ng mga meetings? Bakit walang patikim dun sa speech, no? At bakit hindi nyo siya maabot masyado? Iba ba to dun sa mga iba mong kinover?
Usually kasi yung previous coverages na napuntahan natin, nakasampa tayo sa PR001. So directly pagbaba natin, nakakasama tayo sa schedule ng Pangulo kung ano yung mga meetings niya. Pero ngayon kasi, since yung media delegation na nauna dito ng a day or two, almost 2 days din na nauna sa Pangulo, so hindi talaga natin kumbaga walang pagkakataon na makasama sa kaagad. Dati kasi kapag sa presidential plane, of course, itakaroon ng mga ambush interview doon sa presidential plane, and then ganun din kapag pauwi, nagkakaroon ng kapihan. So ngayon talagang naka-separate ng hotel room, medyo malayo with us. So kung mag-host lang yung mga officials natin ng dinner, kung magsaset lang ng mga meetings or mga, or lunch or any press con with us, yun lang tayo nagkakaroon ng pagkakataon na makakasama yung Pangulo. And then with the schedule, yung usual naman na ibibigay sa atin is yung nasa booklet na schedule ng Pangulo. So yun, may oras naman doon. Kaya lang walang mga specific information or details na nakalagay doon. Pero ganun lahat ng foreign coverages naman. Yung talagang booklet lang yung nakukuha ng media delegation.
Itong forum niya mamayang gabi, gaano kalaki yan? Gaano kalaki at meron bang open forum pagkatapos niya magsalita?
Yes, after magbigay ng keynote speech ng Pangulo, merong around 30 minutes na question and answer portion sa kanila, sa loob doon sa plenary. Kanina, sinilit natin yung loob kasi bawal pang mag-video, no? Tinignan natin kanina yung magiging pwesto, so malaki yung mismong venue. And nandun na rin yung pangalan ng Pangulo sa harapan mismo.
Julie, any update kung meron magkakaroon ng interaction, official or unofficial, yung mga defense and security officials natin with their Chinese counterparts?
Sa nakuha nating schedule ni Secretary Gibo Teodoro, wala so far, wala pa with the Chinese officials. Ang nakita natin ngayon, bilateral meeting kay Canada Minister of Defense Bill Blair, Minister of Defense ng New Zealand, ng South Korea at ng Singapore.
Okay, thank you. Maraming salamat, Julie Baisa.
Salamat, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
That was our mobile journalist Julie Baisa reporting live from Singapore for the Shangri-La Dialogue. I guess ang aabangan doon, Ronald, is whether there will be a shift or a reiteration of the president's policy towards China in the West Philippine Sea.
Especially nasa Singapore siya,
Yeah.
na may kaunting policy differences.
Yes.
Yeah.
Parang ibang sentiment down on the ground there in
Yes.
Singapore. With those. You were mentioning that there's going to be a Chinese presence in that forum.
Yeah.
As always.
Yes,
Everybody's there.
Yeah. And,
but it's strange that
it's going to be significant.
It's strange that we've been asking if there's going to be some bilateral meetings between our defense secretary and the Chinese counterpart. Pero parang wala, no?
Wala.
Because this could have been an opportunity para mag-usap-usap.
Yes, pero yung opportunity ay depende rin kasi kung meron tayong iniisip na mga changes. Siguro dahil wala namang iniisip na changes. So
That's a sign.
It's a sign.
That's a
clear
sign
na
nothing will
walang
change
magbabago.
in the statement of the president. It's a sign. Okay, very interesting. Okay, now it's time to go to your headlines, Ami. What do we have on the Philippine Star for tomorrow?
Well, dahil iniintay pa nga natin yung speech ni Bongbong, ni President Marcos, which will come out tonight pa, nakafocus tayo ngayon sa US, yung conviction ni Donald Trump. Saka, yun na nga, binati niya si VP Sara ng happy birthday. Si VP Sara pa rin ang caretaker, ha? Although hindi siya nagpunta dun sa send-off ngayon. Tapos, meron tayong low pressure area. Kung papasok ngayon sa Philippine Area of Responsibility, mag-intensify, magiging batchoy. Yan ang mga binabantayan natin ngayon.
Alam mo, Ronald,
At saka si Senator Risa Ontiveros, inulit niya na wala naman daw xenophobia dyan sa kanyang ongoing investigation on Bamban Mayor Alice Go.
Okay, alam mo, Ronald, it's very telling that a simple birthday greeting is a story.
Yes.
No, here we are in
Yes.
media. No, talaga we're watching every word or everything that is said
Talaga.
between the president and the vice president. And not unfairly, no? Hindi naman unfair na talagang binabantayan natin yung mga story ganyan. Nagiging balita yung mga ganyan na happy birthday.
Lalo na ito yung first time na umalis yung presidente na hindi in-appoint yung vice president as caretaker. So, may mga
Well, in-appoint daw, pero hindi siya. Wala siya doon sa send-off.
Okay.
Okay.
Buti naman.
Okay, but we actually have a program here on 1PH of Senator Amy Marcos.
Yeah.
Okay, her guest for this week's episode na lumabas ata last weekend, was VP Sara Duterte. Alam naman natin na very close yung dalawa, si Senator Amy Marcos at saka si VP Sara Duterte. And they had some fun and games. May kukwento lang ako sa inyo. They had some fun and games. And then at one point, the host of the program, mga parang this artistas who were hosting the program, had a game question. Tinanong si VP Sara, sino sa kanila ni Senator Amy ang moody or sumpungin. I don't know kung meron ba tayong soundbite? If you can play it, so we'll play it. And I'll leave it to you to divine the meaning in this statement. So can we have it now?
Sino po ba ang mas sumpungin sa inyo? Mas moody po?
Moody. Ako mainit ang ulo. Mas madali uminit ang ulo.
Wala na.
Ay, wala na. Manhid ka ni.
Oo, manhid
Babaeng
na.
bato. Ano ba yan? Wala nang
Namalig
feeling.
na ako simula last year. Oo.
Starting last year. Before last year, normal ka pa.
Oo.
Anyari? Anyari last year na nagkaganyan ka? Ayun.
Tatanungin po ba namin yung, magna-next question na po kami?
Oo, next question.
Parang
Okay, next question.
calcified na yung nerves.
Public
Hindi
naman yung
siya
buhay
lahat
ko Balikan nyo lang yung mga
Mga
mga pangyayari.
Okay, so...
Calcified.
Ah?
Calcified.
Calcified. That's the word of Senator Amy Marcos. Pero ang word ni VP Sara is manhid na
Manhid
ako.
na.
Oo.
Manhid.
Oo. Of course, it can mean anything,
Yes.
But when she said na balikan na lang niyo yung mga pangyayari, public naman yung buhay ko.
Hindi naman
Ano
niya
pa ba yung
binanggit
nangyari last year?
Hindi naman niya binanggit yung tambalos-los
Hindi, wala siyang binanggit.
Hindi,
Except
pero
that
simula last
she was
year, sabi
referring
niya,
to
simula last year.
events that happened since last year.
Yeah.
Yun. And the only event we know
Yeah,
is like this worsening feud between at least her family and the administration.
Saka yung confidential funds niya, yun yung hype
Yun,
nun. Because that was the budgeting deliberations.
Yun.
Di ba? Oh.
Bigyan
Hindi naman
na natin
na
sa
we
my
actually
birthday.
ran that story on that interview.
Yeah.
Wala namang denial na na manhid na siya sa mga criticism.
Yun. Tsaka it's very telling, kasi the Sarah we remember, at least from her mayor days,
Yeah.
is somebody who just, who threw punches. At least,
Yes.
on one occasion at least, who threw a
Literally.
punch. Diba? And in the early days of this administration, when alam naman, yung tinanggal
Yun nga.
si Congresswoman Gloria Arroyo, who is an ally
Yeah.
from a House leadership position, ang sumagot kagad si VP Sara with
The
tambalos.
tambalos-los moment.
So early on we see a VP Sara Duterte who is very parang
Subdued.
hindi subdued ang tawag doon. Ano ba to?
Hindi, early on.
Reactive.
Palaban.
Reactive.
I mean, dito sa
Palaban siya
interview.
noon.
Oo. Ngayon, we see more, somebody who's more subdued, restrained.
Yeah.
Parang ganon. Manhid in her words. Ganon. From a political point of view, Ronald, does that make good strategy?
Well, baka ang kanilang strategy ngayon, less talk, less mistake. Lalo na, very intense yung mga banat ni Presidente Bongbong dun sa mga blatant destabilization. At least, nitong past 2 weeks, 4 speeches niya ang tema destabilization. So, siyempre, isa lang naman yung pinapatamaan nun, nung destabilization na yan. Na very public din naman yung banat. So, kung ako yung Vice President, tatahimik na muna ako. Di ba?
It's the prudent thing to do
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
Natahimik mo na.
Nagulat nga ako na halos lahat ng speech ni BBM, ni President Bongbong, merong destabilization na tira.
But it's not necessarily directed at her. Maybe her family, maybe, no?
Yeah.
Kasi yun naman yung vocal, yung tatay niya at mga kapatid niya, no? Pero at the same time, I guess, is she caught in between? Is this what she's telling us by her restraint?
Dahil hindi lang niya to kapamilya, mga aliado niya to eh. So, the prudent thing to do ay medyo, kung ka na muna, subdued.
Subject ka muna. I wonder if you, Ami, if you notice, if you agree that this is a prudent thing for the Vice President to do at this point.
I
Given
think
the very
forced to good
complicated
siya. No
situation.
choice naman siya. I think she got so used to wielding power during her father's time. At napakatagal noon na nagkahalinhinan sila as mayor of Davao and then naging presidente. Kaya noon sa Davao, nanununtok siya na sheriff. Pag nasanay ka sa ganun you will carry it over. Kaya lang suddenly, siguro sa umpisa, akala niya kapartner niya to, unit team to And then suddenly, biglang may umalma. Nakita niya, ang lakas ng pushback. Di ba? And so, ano pang magagawa niya? But you have to give it to her that she knows how to
Respond.
withdraw. Marunong siya umurong. And hindi pa rin niya binibitawan yung very high-profile cabinet post niya. Nakikita naman natin sa mga survey, it's frontline number 1 sa approval rating dahil I think ang iniisip ng mga tao, the department itself and the teachers, yun ang iniisip nila Napaka-high profile niyan. Although she didn't get, of course, the defense portfolio. Pero frontline yan eh. So you're correct, it's the prudent thing to do. Although sabi ko nga, ano pa ba naman ang choice niya? Nung umalmas siya kay GMA, nakita niya, hindi lang siya tinamaan. Di ba?
Well,
Everybody around her naapektuhan eh.
And Ronald, I mean, if we go by the performance or satisfaction ratings of not just the president, but also of the vice president, medyo tinatamaan sila. Tinatamaan din siya.
Yes.
Especially itong huling rating na double digit.
Ito medyo dramatic, itong huli. No? Kaya baka,
So it's telling her something.
baka nagre-recalibrate sila, pinag-aaralan nila how to adjust. No? At habang ginagawa yon ay tumahimik muna.
Silence is always a good option or a strategy, right?
For some.
For some. In this situation,
For
siguro.
some.
In this situation. Diba? Keep
some,
them guessing. That
pagsususpetsahan
could be a
ka.
strategy. Diba? Okay, we have a guest now. But this time we will be talking about the elections in the the coming elections in the United States. But before they have that election, there's a development where Donald Trump has been convicted for giving hush money
Yes.
to a porn star being linked to her. Let's ask the legal implications or the explanations from a legal point of view. We have Attorney Buko Dela Cruz on the line joining Storycon. Attorney?
Good afternoon,
Hi,
Attorney.
attorney.
Magandang hapon po, mga Mami, Sir Patrick, and Ronald.
Okay.
Hi.
First question, Attorney. Help us appreciate the process in the U.S., the judicial process. May sentencing, may decision na yung jury, ang hinihintay na lang yung sentensya ng judge.
Yes, pwede pa rin siyang tumakbo bilang presidente kahit convicted na siya, no? The U.S. Constitution lays out just 3 requirements for presidential candidates.
Very minimal.
Kailangan lang natural-born citizen, kailangan at least 35 years old, and kailangan lang resident for at least 14 years no, sa US. So kahit na convicted ka, pwede kang tumakbo. At dito sa kasong ito, hindi pa naman final yung conviction kasi may appeal pa rin siya. No?
So, Attorney, si Mayor Guo hindi pwedeng tumakbo.
Pwede pa rin kasi wala pa naman siyang disqualification.
Yun. Attorney, when you say pwede pa rin tumakbo si Donald Trump while the case is on appeal, that's what you're telling us. But not when the conviction is already final?
No, I'm saying kahit maging final ang conviction, pwede pa rin.
At what point can he not run?
Well, may mga implications, no? For example, kung ang sentensya sa kanya ay makukulong siya.
Okay.
Yan, no? Maaaring ipasok yung isang disqualification sa kanilang constitution na hindi ka maaaring patakbuhin kung ikaw ay incarcerated for crimes like sedition or crimes against the state. Ang problema, wala pa itong implementing law.
Okay, but that's
Pero
not
attorney,
his conviction, attorney.
Itong felony na charge sa kanya, pwede siya, di ba? Kahit
Yes,
merong
pwede pa rin,
prison
pwede pa rin.
sentence na, pwede pa rin siya actually. Ang tanong ko, halimbawang na-convict na siya at merong ganong klaseng sentensya, can he continue serving as president? Halimbawang elect siya pala, ma-elect, na hindi pa nga yun final yung tapos ang naging sentensya niya, imprisonment, anong kalalabasan nun?
Pwede ba niyang ipardon ang sarili niya, Attorney?
No, she
Yun
cannot.
ang magandang question doon. No? Kung siya ay makonvict at may sentensyang pagkakulong at siya ay maging presidente, may school of thought na nagsasabing pwede siyang magpatawad, magpardon ng kanyang sarili. Kasi wala namang pagbabawal sa ilalim ng kanilang constitution. Except that may mga jurisprudence sa US Supreme Court na nagsasabing ang presidential pardon applies only to federal offenses.
Yes.
Itong parusa sa kanya ay kaso sa isang
State
state
lang.
court. So state level lang. So wala pang desisyon ng Korte Suprema ng Amerika na pinapayagan ang pardon sa mga offenses sa state level.
Halimbawa, attorney, siya ay masentensyahan sa July 11 ng 4 years.
Maximum, let's say.
Imprisonment.
They give him the maximum.
So, tapos sa November, paano siya kakampanya pag siya ay nakakulong? Theoretically,
Kahit mayroon ng sentensya sa July 11, hindi pa rin siya makukulong kasi may appeal process pa ito.
yes.
So
pero,
hindi pa rin final,
pero
hindi pa
theoretically,
rin makukulong hanggang matapos ang halalan.
yes. Halimbawa, theoretically, matapos yung appeal process before the election. Theoretically, pwede ba yun
Okay.
na nakakulong ka tapos ikaw ay tumatakbo as president?
Yes, meron na nangyaring ganyang halimbawa. No? Noong 1920 presidential campaign, merong isang socialist leader, si Eugene Debs, na na-convict at nakakulong sa isang federal prison sa Atlanta. 10 years yung sentensya niya. Pinayagan siyang makakampanya, no? Kahit siya ay nasa loob ng kulungan.
Parang Trillanes lang. Hindi ba to?
Parang dati si Ninoy Aquino.
Oh, yeah. Right. Oo. Pero I think the difference is hindi walang conviction sa mga detention na yun. Right? Trillanes and Ninoy Aquino.
Correct.
Okay, so attorney, this is not the kind of conviction that is really going to knock out Trump from the election. So, so if we can hazard a political guess on what the implications or what the objective of this conviction is, what is it, no, attorney?
I think it's more of media mileage, a matter of changing perceptions, especially among Republicans na supporters ni Trump. Kasi may mga polls at surveys na nagsasabing hindi nila iboboto si Trump kahit Republican sila kung ito ay convicted felon.
Okay.
Meron pa siyang 3 kaso, attorney, di ba? Isang subversion case,
3 cases.
isang election interference case, at isa yung mga classified document case. Kamusta yung mga kaso na yun?
Yung dalawa doon kasi ay suspended ang trial dahil ina-await yung mga legal questions na ipinail ni Trump na nasa Court of Appeals.
Yung immunity,
Yung isang
presidential
case,
immunity.
Oo. Correct. So hinihintay nila na ma-resolve muna yon ng Court of Appeals. Pero yung isang kaso niya, mukhang aandar na rin. No? Mukhang magkakaroon na rin ng trial at magkakaroon na rin ng conviction or acquittal during the campaign.
Okay, attorney, you mentioned a while ago, no, na one possible political implication in this is that Republicans may opt not to vote for somebody who's been convicted of felony. But could it also be the other way around? Because we're hearing from some people that the other view is that this conviction has, in fact, strengthened or delivered the elections already to Trump. Parang sympathy vote naman ang ano nila dito, ang reading nila. Could it work both ways?
Yes, that's a good point. Dahil ang strategy ni Trump mula noon hanggang ngayon is drumming up the base. Meaning, ang kampanya niya ay nakatarget lamang talaga sa mga alam niyang botante nila. At ang style niya ay nagpapaawa sa kanyang mga botante at ipinapakita na siya ay biktima ng persecution or political vendetta ng mga Democrats. So, maaari ngang magkaroon ng backlash at lalong tumibay ang suporta ng mga Republicans kay Trump.
Okay, Ronald, ikaw. Anong tingin mo? There are 2 possibilities.
Attorney, he was
Ang
Attorney, he was
contradiction kasi...
convicted on 36 counts, no? 36 counts,
34.
maximum 4 years.
Yeah.
Pero actually, hanggang maximum niyan, mga 20 years lang. Paano kung ibigay sa kanyang sentensya maximum? Anong options niya if he is elected as president?
Yeah, unang-una, Class E misdemeanor ang mga offenses na ito. Kaya kahit na 34 counts sa classification ng US criminal statutes, ito ay mababaw na krimen. And based on the sentencing guidelines, kung first-time offender ka, at lalo na kung ikaw ay old age na, malabong patawan ng parusang pagkakulong.
Maximum.
But assuming na may sentensya ng incarceration or imprisonment, hindi ito lalagpas ng 4 years. Yun
Yes.
kasi ang maximum sa sentencing guidelines for Class E felonies or yung misdemeanors.
Well, tungkol
I had a
sa
question a while ago, Ronald,
Tungkol sa
yes.
tanong mo, Patrick, no? Una ay yung latag kasi, lamang si Trump na mga 6 to 8 points kay Biden.
Based on surveys.
In most surveys. No? So medyo significant yung lamang. Pero itong conviction na ito, to some niches, to some sectors, magkakaroon ng pagbabago. Halimbawa, yung sinabi ni attorney, merong maliit na section ng Republicans ay pwedeng magbago yung position nila pag convicted. Ibig sabihin, naniniwala sila sa justice system ng Amerika kahit sila ay Trump.
Oo, they don't want a felon, a convicted felon.
Yes. Halimbawa, yung banat ni Trump
voted to the
after ng
presidency.
conviction niya, binanatan niya yung justice system
Okay.
ng US. For some, medyo gray area. Baka magalit yung iba. Yung kanyang base, yung kanya na, magrarally yan, no, yung kanya na. Pero ang target mo kasi ay yung swing.
Okay.
'Di ba? Ang target mo yung mga urban at saka suburban.
The soft votes.
Yes, yun ang target mo.
That you could lose, kumbaga ganon.
Yes, yun yung, lalo na pag binanata mo yung justice system ng iyong bansa, at the same time, gagamitin mo yung justice system para mag-appeal, baka magkaroon ng contradiction dun sa swing votes na yon.
Okay.
Bagamat significant yung lamang niya kay Biden.
So it's gonna
next survey, makikita natin yan.
Yes. So it's gonna harden the core Trump supporters.
Yes.
Okay? Ito magrarally.
Yes.
Pero he could lose the soft votes.
The swing votes.
Okay. Okay, attorney, I wonder if you want to jump into that analysis.
Yes, I agree. Actually, the swing votes always made the votes to make a candidate win in the U.S. presidential elections. No, lalo na kung dikit ang laban, yung swing votes, yung mga fence-sitters, yung mga hindi active na Democrat or Republican, sila yung target na makuha ng parehong grupo. At this conviction might work against Trump for the fence-sitters.
Okay, thank you for joining the Storycon. Lawyer Attorney Buko Dela Cruz.
Thank
Maraming
you,
salamat
attorney.
po.
Thank you for
Attorney.
having me. Maraming salamat po.
This is Storycon on One News. We just need to take a quick break, but we will be right back. This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group. We've got the developing news and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Paez with Atty. Pamintuan and Ronald Llamas. Also joining us is Richard Heydarian, Geopolitical analyst, and our host in One News's Long Conversations. Richard! Okay, we're still talking about the biggest story. We're still talking about the biggest story in the United States today and also here in the Philippines. So people are talking about the Trump conviction. Your thoughts, Richard?
Well, I mean, first of all, I've been trying to listen to different, even legal standpoint on this, and it looks like the jury is still out in a sense that there are many people who are even doubt whether he'll even serve, in a detention center. It's very possible that the judge, based on some of his initial statements, acknowledging that we're dealing with the ex-president who could be the future president, we could look at a situation of house arrest, things that we saw in the Philippines, right? When people as powerful as presidents or ex-presidents are facing justice, sometimes incarceration is not necessarily what the judge handles. So by, I think, July, we're going to know, just 5 days before Trump's official nomination as the Republican Party's nominee for the presidency, we'll know exactly what the judge is going to hand down. But I think the jury's still out. A lot of legal analysts cannot agree on whether we're going to go into incarceration or not. Because statistically speaking, I think based on some studies, they look at 10,000 cases in Manhattan throughout the past 10 years. Vast majority of cases similar to Trump ended up in some sort of detention, probably around a year or lower, but it's very, very likely that he will not serve any term in jail, not to mention there's the appeal option, right, which could kick this can down the road. Where I think this will be very important is that it completely changes the narrative. Because now the narrative is not, who has the better vision for the country. The narrative is whether you trust in America's justice system and whether you're okay with a convicted criminal serving as your president or not. So for a very long time, all sorts of allegations have been thrown at Donald Trump. There's always an qualifier, caveat, allege this, allege that. Now, he is a convicted criminal, right, for a felony, at least in this case. And there are other cases that we have to look at. So even if he appeals it and kicks the can down the road, the question is, will the Biden administration's campaign be aggressive and effective enough to convince some of the Republicans and convince some of the independents not to vote for Trump in these elections, in spite of their dissatisfaction in Biden. As you know, guys, I've been back and forth to the United States over the past month or so, from South Carolina to San Francisco, red states, purple states, Georgia, blue states. I talk to people, whether it's Uber drivers, it's professors, it's retirees. The level of enthusiasm for Biden is very, very low. And that's the reason why I think the Biden campaign should be very worried when they look at their numbers in battleground states, among others. But now there is an opportunity for the Biden campaign to recast the whole conversation as, do you want a convicted criminal as your president? Despite, we can have a long debate about the framers of the Constitution and how they make it easy for even someone from probably jail to serve as the president of the United States or a convicted criminal. But the point is, are you okay with a convicted criminal as your president or not? And this is important because if you look at Trump's statement after the conviction came out, he was casting doubt and attacking the judge. He was attacking the whole system. So you're going to see essentially Trump on steroids if he comes back to power next year. So you may hate Biden. You may think he has been extremely inefficient. You may think he's too old. Maybe you think he's not handling the inflation well. But you're ready for a vengeance mode Trump, which is exponentially more aggressive and potentially more authoritarian than first Trump that we saw from 2016. So this is now going to be the narrative that the Biden campaign is going to pump prime.
Okay.
There was alleged all this time. Now it's no longer that case.
Richard, before we continue, we'd like to play a reaction from former President Trump on tape. Can we hear it now?
Are you worried about going to jail?
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA, and the whole thing, we didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win.
If we should look at this other than a political move, I'll throw in that contrarian question. Because conviction on hush money, diba? I mean,
well, dalawa kasi
is it anything other than that, a political move?
Dalawa yung importante sa kanina, yung pinakita mong speech ni Trump, no? Una ay binabanatan niya yung justice system sa US. Na binanatan niya yung judge, yung prosecutor, na corrupt daw, etc., etc. Pero hindi niya binanatan yung jury. Yung jury kasi ang nag-convict sa kanya. A jury of his peers. Yan yung sinasabi sa Amerika. Hindi niya binanatan yun.
Point there.
Dahil kasama yung kanyang mga abogado sa pumili ng jury. So hindi niya binabanatan yun. Ikalawa, binabanatan niya yung location. Mga 5-6% daw sila dun sa lugar na yon. Which means, pinopoliticize niya yung justice system na mahalaga kung nasaan ka kakasuhan. No? Kung ikaw ay nasa Alabama, kung ikaw ay nasa New York, or nasa Florida. Medyo kanyon, delikado yun. Dahil hinahatulan mo na yung sistema sa Amerika na kinakailangan nandun ka dun sa friendly state para ikaw ay hindi makonvict. No? At panghuli, yung tanong mo, ito ay aakyat sa maraming level. Kaya nga nung sinasabi ni Richard kanina, yung kanyang analysis, no? Tatlong categories kasi ito. Yung isa yung legal, na pinapaliwanag ni Richard. Yung isa yung political, na nag-touch on din siya. At ikatlo, ito yung hinihintay ng mundo, yung geopolitical. Kung sakaling mag-survive siya rito, legally, politically, at manalo siya sa November, yun yung pinapanood ng buong mundo ngayon. Especially dito sa region natin. Magkakaroon ba ng change sa foreign policy? Magkakaroon ba ng change sa, halimbawa, sa Europe? Sinasabi ni Trump dati, nung presidente siya, iiwan namin ng NATO kung hindi sila mag-i-scale up sa defense spending.
Okay, but is it unfair for Trump to see this conviction as political?
Well, sabi ko nga, it's a jury of his peers. Kasama sila sa pumili. Yung jury ang nag-convict sa kanya, not the judge. Yung judge ang magsa-sentence. Yung prosecutor, binoboto ang prosecutor sa US, hindi katulad sa atin.
Which is political too, if it's voted, right?
Yes, at yung prosecutor ang nag-raise nung kaso na dapat i-hear sa ganitong klaseng lugar. No? Yun yung, pero maraming appeals level yan. Kaya nga sabi nung ating abogado kanina, medyo tatagal yan. At aakyat pa yan sa dulo, sa Supreme Court, na very
but the decision for this case to go on trial is up to the prosecutor. Okay, the jury, maybe given another time, maybe would probably come up with the same conviction. In all probability, he is guilty.
Patrick,
but the timing,
it's not the DOJ who handed down the conviction. It's DOJ involved here. This is a very independent judiciary involved here. So I think we should not buy into the Trump team. I slightly disagree actually with Ronald in the sense that, if I'm not mistaken, the legal team of Trump, maybe this is another case. They were trying to argue that his case is being heard in a democratic majority state is not a valid thing. So it's not maybe not there in that press conference per se, or maybe not in this case, but his legal team has been trying to play that game that if his cases are heard in democratic majority states, meaning there's going to be inherently a structural bias against him. So his team is doing everything. They're throwing the kitchen sink, everything to question the judicial system. Kaya nga sabi ko, this Trump will be different from the first Trump. He's angry. There's nothing fun about him. I mean, for some of us who watched him during his first run, he was funny sometimes. Of course, sometimes not so funny. But this time, this is a very angry, vengeful Trump. And that's why...
Pero
You're jumping into the possible consequences or ramification. But what I'd like to know, Richard, is do you think that this case, the prosecutor filing this case, is purely coincidental? There's no political timing involved in it.
Well, I mean, look at who are the people who are involved here, right? I mean, this case has been going on for quite some time. We're talking about people implicating me, including people who were inside his team. I'm talking about his lawyer, for instance, etc. Now, obviously, you can always say that it happened while Biden is in power. But I think it's another thing to say that the Biden administration has been manipulating the entire judicial system. Then you're playing into the conspiratorial game of the Trump administration. That is my argument. But you're right. As far as optics is concerned, people are going to say there's no coincidence that this case has gone in this particular direction. Kaya nga sabi ko, it's also possible that the judge, taking into consideration the whole politics here, may not give him even a detention or kind of incarcerative punishment here and go for something softer in that regard. So let's see also what happens in the coming months. As far as the Supreme Court is concerned, I think things are in Trump's favor, and maybe it's possible that Trump may not even face a hearing at all, and the case could be dismissed against him as far as the insurrection case is concerned. So the whole American judicial system right now is also on the ballot, right?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned
Pero ako,
conspiracy.
Richard, isa lang ang tanong ko, Richard, is it plus or minus for Trump? Kasi he has a very solid base. And he is actually saying, I'm gonna use this for my campaign. And I think nagre-resonate yung sinasabi niya na pinapersecute daw siya eh. Hindi, actually,
the base is as solid as it can get,
his numbers are
right?
still high. Yeah, his numbers are still high. At saka dinadagdag niya ngayon, yan, kinonvict ako. Persecuted ako eh. I'm just asking you, anong tingin mo? Is it plus or minus for him na nangyari to?
It all goes down to soft Republicans, skeptical Republicans, those who voted for alternative candidates. I mean, I was in South Carolina talking to people who had Haley as their favorite. Would these people now shift to Trump or have even more reason not voting for Trump, even though they also don't like the Democrats and all the woke stuff, right? So that's the question. The base is as solid as it can get. That's why Trump's media company suddenly is worth billions of dollars. So I don't think that's the question. The question is he going to win over more independents and soft Republican voters? I think it's too early to say. I mean, he has to come up with a very convincing narrative to prove to these people that he's really a victim here, that this is a persecution case, right?
Pero,
It's very important to see how the Biden administration also approaches this in terms of showing, hey, we're not involved here. This is not a DOJ conspiracy.
Well, it's not so
This
much
is
a
not
conspiracy,
DOJ
Richard, but I think we can't ignore the context in which this conviction is happening. As it is, you don't need a conspiracy. America is very polarized at this point. You don't need a Biden administration guy talking to a judge to try to draw hidden lines here and there. But the fact is that American society is very divided now, and there you have it.
Patrick, the hush money case was during Trump administration himself, right? I mean, we've been hearing about this since what, 2016?
Exactly.
It's not like they
doesn't have to
started
be.
2020 when Biden became the president, right? The insurrection case, well, everyone saw what happened here. Again, it would be ridiculous to pin it on Biden.
I'm not arguing
but I see
for
where they're coming
conspiracy.
from. There's enough there to make a conspiracy theory.
I'm not arguing for conspiracy. I'm arguing trying to point out the context in which this conviction has happened, that every American, at least every American, has a strong position when it comes to Trump. And, you do this conviction at this point in time, or pursue this case at this point in time, it's bound to be, how can it not be political?
Pero, Patrick, yung
political on the part of an individual, not necessarily political on the part of an administration.
Yung hard Trump at saka yung hard Democrats, hindi mo na mababago yun.
Right.
Kaya ang target dito ay yung binabanggit ni Richard na soft.
Meron pa ba, Ronald, na soft at this point?
Sa Amerika meron. No? At kailangan kasi ipaliwanag ito sa context na hindi bago itong kaso. Maraming kaso even before Trump became president, while he was president, at after siya naging president. Marami sa mga kaso na yan ay na-delay or naitapon sa korte dahil nga magagaling yung mga abogado niya.
I'm not trying to make a connection between the conviction and the administration. Kasi parang hindi naman Pilipinas siya na alam mo na predictable yan. Kung sino nakaupo, you can draw hidden lines to
pero
a court
makikita
decision.
natin yung political context sa context ng iba pang mga kaso niya. Na nangyari, na hindi natuloy, ito yung nag-prosper. At hindi
Pero Ronald, yun na nga hindi ba ang dami-daming kaso, Ronald?
Hindi maliit na bagay yung falsification of documents.
We know that.
Lalo na yung nagtestigo ay dati niyang abogado.
Pero Ronald, nga yun na nga sinasabi ko, despite all those cases, matagal na lang running tong mga cases na to eh. Ang dami-dami na but look at his numbers. ino-overstate niya si Biden. Ang tagal-tagal na neto nagpe-percolate tong issue na to.
Yes, pero iba,
But, Amy, you have to also
kasi,
look at the fact that Trump is not doing very
convicted
well.
felon ka eh. Iba yung convicted felon ka. Iba yung kinakasuhan ka. Iba yung convicted felon ka. Mismo para
Ronald,
sa
don't
part
forget-
ng Republicans. No?
Ronald,
Dahil-
if
Yeah.
you look at the primaries,
Yeah.
the participation rate was not very high for Trump. It's true that he defeated the other side, but a significant amount of Republicans were staying it out compared to the previous years. No, so there's also a number of Republicans also are having enthusiasm problem with him. That's why you have the rise of Kennedy Jr. and third-party candidates. So one thing we didn't talk about at all is how could third-party candidates take advantage of this? Because Kennedy can easily come in here and say, okay, Biden, okay, fine. You know what's the deal? Now this other guy, he's a convicted criminal. I am your alternative. I am the true alternative. So one thing that could happen here is that you may strengthen the third-party candidates and
But
create some
Richard,
significant spoiler
RFK
effect.
is running as a Democrat, Richard.
No, he's running as an independent. No, he's running as an independent. And the debate right now is he going to take away more from Biden or take away more from the Trump side? Initially, the Biden people were more worried about him, and there were legal efforts to deny him to be on the ballot in some of the battleground states. But now it looks that the Trump team is more worried that he could steal away from him. And I think this conviction could be important in the sense that Kennedy can come in here and say, you want to go for me because I'm really against both of these guys. Both of them are establishment. Both of them are compromised. This guy is even a proven criminal, right? So this whole game of, Hunter Biden, what about this? What about that? So that's where I think the third party candidate could actually take advantage of the situation. That's what I'm going to watch out. The last time we had Ralph Nader really spoiling the elections for Democrats, it was just a few percentage points. It's very possible with Kennedy Jr. we can go all the way to double-digit numbers. So this is completely unprecedented territories we're entering right now. I mean, if 10 years ago someone told you that a person as a convicted criminal could run and still win, we would say, wow, that's crazy. Now, it's also possible a third-party candidate could get double-digit numbers. That's something also that could be unprecedented and completely change the complexion of this race.
Richard, thank you very much for the very spirited conversation and discussion. Next time, mas maganda kung dito tayo lahat sa studio. Including Amy.
Okay, ito baka mag-ano na kami. I'm just kidding. That was great. Thank you. Sorry, Amy and Ronald, if I caught
Thank you.
Pleasure. Talk to you guys soon.
Okay, that was Richard Heydarian, geopolitical analyst and a host in Long Conversation.
Hindi lang natin na
Here
pag-usapan
in
yung
One
geopolitical.
News. Ayun. Okay. May next time pa. Parating pa yung election in November. There's a lot of time to talk about that. Anyway, thanks for joining the Storycon today. Ami Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and our resident political pundit, Ronald Llamas. Happy weekend.
Happy weekend.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.